If you're facing an intoxication assault case in Texas, you're probably stuck in that brutal limbo where you know it was a wreck and someone got hurt, and now you're wondering if you're about to get labeled a felon for the rest of your life. Lose your license, lose your job, and maybe even go to prison because the state is going to act like the crash automatically proves you were intoxicated. I'm Barrett, a Texas criminal defense attorney, and I handle serious DWI-related felonies like intoxication assault. In this video, I'm going to show you what actually wins these cases, what the state has to prove that people don't realize, where the investigation usually has gaps, and what you need to do immediately to protect yourself and stop the case from getting locked in against you before your lawyer even has a chance to fight it. Let's get right into it. If you're charged with intoxication assault in Texas, you're not dealing with a normal DWI anymore. There was a crash and someone got seriously hurt. And now the state is treating this like a felony case with real prison exposure. That's why this charge feels different, because it is different. But here's what matters most right now. An accusation is not proof. A police report is not the full story. And, well, they arrested you is not the same thing as they can convict you. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what intoxication assault actually is, what the state has to prove, and what you should do immediately to put yourself in the best position to win. In Texas, intoxication assault is typically a third-degree felony. And the reason it's treated so seriously is simple. The state is claiming two things at the same time. One, you were intoxicated under Texas law, and two, that intoxication caused an accident that resulted in serious bodily injury to another person. That combination is what turns this into an intoxication assault. And if the state proves it, you could be facing years in prison, a felony record, driver's license consequences, and the possibility of a civil lawsuit on top of the criminal case. So yes, this is high stakes. But high-stakes cases can still be defended. The single biggest mistake people make after an intoxication assault arrest is talking. To the police, to the injured person or their family, to insurance, to friends, even to relatives, because the urge is human. You want to explain, you want to apologize, you want to say, that's not what happened. But here's the problem. Anything you say can be used against you, even things that sound harmless. And in intoxication assault cases, the state is hunting for statements that make their story easier. So your move is simple. Be polite and be calm and say, I want to speak to my lawyer. Then stop talking. That's not about looking guilty. That's about protecting your future. Here's what most people don't realize. Police reports are written to justify an arrest. They're not written to capture every detail that helps you. So if your defense is built only on the report, you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back. A real intoxication assault defense demands a full investigation. Dash cam and body cam footage, surveillance video from nearby businesses, witness statements, 911 calls, scene photos, accident reconstruction data, and medical records. Because intoxication assault cases often fall apart in the details. I've seen cases where the report said someone failed everything and was acting drunk. Then the video showed something completely different. Someone injured from the crash, disoriented from impact, struggling to walk because of pain, but not alcohol. And that difference matters because it changes how a judge, a prosecutor, and a jury see the entire case. A lot of people assume this case is over if there's a breath test or blood test. It's not. Texas law can define intoxication two main ways: not having normal use of mental or physical faculties because of alcohol, drugs, or both, or a BAC at or above the legal limit. But either way, the state still has to prove it with reliable evidence. And testing evidence has weaknesses. Breath machines require proper maintenance, calibration, and correct administration. Blood samples require proper collection, storage, documentation, and chain of custody. If those steps weren't followed cleanly, results can be challenged. And even beyond the tests, a crash creates chaos, head injuries, shock, stress, adrenaline, pain, fatigue, and medication can all mimic impairment. An officer shows up after a violent accident, sees someone shaken up, and just assumes it's intoxication. Assumptions don't win trials. Evidence does. So a strong defense asks, was this testing done correctly? Was the equipment properly maintained? Was the blood handled and tracked properly? Were there medical explanations for what the officer described? Because the intoxication element is often where slam dunk cases start leaking. Now let's talk about the second piece the state must prove, the assault part. In intoxication assault, the injury has to qualify as serious bodily injury under Texas law. That doesn't mean just any injury. It generally means injuries that create a substantial risk of death, cause serious permanent disfigurement, or result in long-term loss or impairment of a body part or organ. And this matters because prosecutors sometimes overcharge early. They rely on the emotion of the wreck, but the law still has a definition. So the defense needs to get the medical records, understand the diagnosis, and compare the facts to the legal standard. Because if the injury doesn't meet the legal definition, the charge level can change. And when the charge level changes, everything changes. Here's a piece most people miss. Even if the state argues intoxication, they still have to connect it to the crash in a legally meaningful way. In other words, did intoxication actually cause the collision? Because accidents can happen for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with alcohol. It could be another driver's mistake, a sudden lane change, weather, road design, malfunctioning traffic signals, poor lighting, mechanical issues, a chain reaction accident where fault isn't obvious. And this is where accident reconstruction and scene evidence become powerful. Because if the state can't prove intoxication caused the crash the way that they claim, the foundation of the intoxication assault case weakens. Time is not neutral in these cases. Video gets overwritten, witnesses disappear, memories fade, vehicles get repaired, scenes change, and the longer you wait, the more the state's version becomes the only version that exists. So winning often comes down to moving early, preserving footage, collecting records, locking in witness statements, documenting injuries and medical conditions, and getting experts involved when needed. Sometimes, just showing the prosecutor that you have a real defense changes how they treat the case, because now they're not negotiating against fear. They're negotiating against risk. An intoxication assault case doesn't live in a vacuum. It can impact your job, your license, your reputation, and your family stability. And it can open the door to civil lawsuits, even if the criminal case isn't resolved yet. That's why your strategy needs to be bigger than just showing up to court. For some people, that means treatment or counseling that demonstrates responsibility without admitting legal fault. For others, that means protecting driving privileges where possible. For everyone, it means making choices now that don't create bigger problems later. What you should do next if you're facing intoxication assault in Texas. Don't talk about the facts without your attorney. Don't assume the police report is accurate. Preserve evidence immediately. Write down your timeline while it's fresh. List witnesses. Save receipts, locations, and any relevant medical info. Because intoxication assault cases are won by details, and details disappear fast. Quick recap. The state must prove intoxication, they must prove serious bodily injury, and they must connect intoxication to the crash. The best defenses usually come from acting early and attacking the foundation. Stay quiet and protect yourself from day one. Demand a real investigation beyond the police report. Challenge breath and blood testing and medical explanations. Verify whether the injury actually meets the legal standard, and question whether intoxication truly caused the collision. Next, watch DWI with child under 15, How to Win Your Case. Because that's another charge Texas prosecutors treat aggressively, and it comes with a felony label that can follow you for life. In that video, I'll break down the most common pressure points that get those cases reduced or beaten. I'll see you in the next one.